No trailer yet for Jurassic World Rebirth, but we do have new images and information that I'm excited to share with you. Entertainment Weekly has a new article that includes an interview with Gareth Edwards and sneak peeks at the dinosaur blockbuster. Let's go through this article, starting with this quote. The team behind Rebirth hopes to recapture the magic of Steven Spielberg's 1993 classic with real filming locations, less blue screen, and a pretty simple but compelling story with fresh leads. I can't speak for Universal, but it did feel like a new trilogy in a way, Edwards says. I'm not sure what their plans are, but it feels like the beginning of a brand new chapter in this franchise. If Jurassic World Rebirth proves to be a box office success, which does seem very likely, I would consider a new trilogy to be pretty much guaranteed because Universal likes printing money with their dinosaur movies. And yes, Gareth Edwards acknowledges that he can't speak for Universal. This is definitely not an official confirmation that we're going to get more movies, but it's yet another hint in that direction. And it's definitely a good sign to me that he mentions less blue screen. It's more shooting on location, it's less of all of this bombastic CGI work. Jurassic Park did lead the way with computer graphics, but I feel like we got lost along the way with the arms race to a spectacle, he elaborates. Jurassic actually only had a few dozen VFX shots in it, and it's such a powerful film. So I was trying to go back to all those tricks and ideas that tease the audience, that creates suspense and tension, that gets you on the edge of your seat. I just wanted to create that feeling I had when I was young, being in awe of these things. That is exactly the kind of mindset that I was hoping for the continuation of this series. Get away from that spectacle, as he describes it, which I think is an accurate word to describe the past three films in the franchise. So I'm very, very happy to see that he has a different vision for it, and that even though we have the technology nowadays, we have the CGI, it's maybe not even always the best way to implement it at full force to achieve the kind of tone and atmosphere that you want to scare your audience. There's a big section in the article about the characters, and the images also very much focus on the characters. Unfortunately, we're still not seeing any dinosaurs yet, which we are all hoping to get a first glimpse of. But yeah, right now all of the images are focused on the characters. The article also delves a bit more into the plot, but it's mostly about the characters that I want to get into in this next section. The article says, Johansson, Ali, and Bailey are essentially the new faces of Jurassic World. Zora Bennett, Johansson, who Edwards describes as a special ops ex-CIA type, is contracted by the pharmaceutical company to infiltrate the region where dinosaurs have retreated to and extract the DNA from these monoliths. She has a sibling-like bond with Duncan Kincaid, Mahershala, who is her most trusted ally who captains their team's ship. He's kind of like the Ahab of our movie, Edwards says. Bailey is the paleontologist Dr. Henry Loomis. He's out of his depth in terms of the military element of the mission, the director explains. He's very comfortable on digs and expeditions, but not the life and death risks that Kincaid and Zora are getting into. Edwards compared these three leads to the three leads from Jaws, saying that he sees a lot of similarities between his leads in Jurassic World Rebirth and the three from Jaws, and he goes on to say, there's a lot of fun between the three of them that really popped out to me. It's less of a love triangle and much more of a competitive who is the alpha in the group kind of way. I don't know why he mentions a love triangle here and why he says less of a love triangle and not a love triangle. I guess that would be an interesting dynamic to explore. But apparently the friction between the characters is going to be more about who is going to be in charge. They're probably going to have conflicting ideas of what the mission should be, how they should go about it. Bailey's character might feel like he should take the lead because he is the knowledgeable one as it comes to dinosaurs, whereas Zora and Kincaid might be butting heads with that because they think they should be in charge as the military experts who are comfortable with these life and death situations. And of course, Duncan Kincaid, Mahershala Ali's character, being described as the Ahab of the three characters of the movie, says a lot about his character. Ahab from Moby Dick was so obsessed with finding the white whale that it led to his demise. It led to the demise of his ship, of his crew, of himself. He sacrificed everything to get the white whale. So if that applies to Duncan Kincaid, then that's a pretty unhealthy mindset for that character to have, but is obviously going to be interesting for a movie to explore, and is the kind of mindset that creates trouble. It creates situations that puts people at risk, because he's willing to sacrifice everything to achieve this goal that he is obsessed with. The article continues, that guy walking through wetlands in a white collared shirt, that's Martin Krebs, Rupert Friend, a representative of Big Pharma, on site to ensure his company's interests. But even he, Edwards points out, isn't the cliched corporate figure. Rupert's got a little bit of James Bond about him, he says. They all try to play a little bit against type slightly. That certainly sparks hope for me, because as soon as we learned about Big Pharma playing a role in this movie with Martin Krebs representing that, I think we all came to the same conclusion. Oh, that's gonna be our villain there. And that's not necessarily wrong. I still think that he is going to fulfill the villain role, but it would be nice if that plays out less cliched and less predictable than we might assume based on that information, you know, based on Big Pharma stereotypes that, let's be frank, are kind of true. Before I analyze the images that I have also been showing in this video along the way, I want to talk about what is mentioned about the plot in the article. 5 years after the events of Dominion, in which dinosaurs mingled with humans all over the globe, these creatures are now dying out. The present-day planet proved to be inhospitable to the prehistoric ilk, except for a small region in the tropics around the equator where many of them now congregate. The three most colossal dinosaurs of land, sea, and air within this biosphere hold genetic material precious to a pharmaceutical company that hopes to use the dino DNA to create a life-saving drug for humanity. The curveball to the story, written by original Jurassic Park scribe David Koepp, is that Zora's team receives a mayday signal from a civilian boat that capsizes from an attack. So on top of pulling off this dangerous mission, the crew now has to worry about the safety of the Delgado family. Obviously, it all goes wrong and becomes a situation that you enjoy watching as a Jurassic fan, Edwards remarks. Once you're on the adventure, the film doesn't let go until the end credits. The enjoyment of it is in the moment-to-moment chase, escape, scare, horror, curveballs, in the whole plotting of the set pieces and the dinosaur moments. So this article confirms the synopsis that we got with the name and logo reveal from a couple of weeks ago. It's interesting that this sort of, based on surface value, this seems to contradict one of David Koepp's commandments, one of his 9 rules for Jurassic World Rebirth, which is no retconning. Because all of the dinosaurs suddenly dying out, with Earth apparently not being hospitable to them after all, is a retcon. At the end of the video here, I want to go through the 4 new images that we have and analyze them, see if we can discover something new, or maybe just hypothesize about the scene around it. And I want to start with this image right here, a tall grass shot. We've been seeing so much of this grass in the marketing so far. So I want to start here, because I would consider it the least exciting of the bunch. So we have 3 characters here, Martin Krebs, Duncan Kincaid, and the character on the right, I don't think there's been a name reveal for yet, but he is played by actor Bashir Sylvain. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. And they're looking up at something. What I think they're looking up at here is one of the largest species that they need to collect DNA from. And this is our formulaic scene where our characters experience the majesty of dinosaurs. Every movie in the franchise has had a scene like that. And of course, the very first one had its scene with a sauropod, the Brachiosaurus. And I think what we have here is another sauropod, but it might be the Tyrannotitan. And that's based on some rumors and leaks about toy lines and all of that stuff. And, you know, Tyranititan is a huge sauropod, so it would make a good candidate for one of the most colossal species that they need to get DNA from for, you know, the sake of this life-saving medicine that they're trying to create. So that's what I think this scene is gonna be. We of course know that Zora Bennett and Henry Loomis are part of this scene as well, as we've seen them in the long grass as well. And yeah, that's what I think this is. It's probably gonna be relatively early on in the movie. It's still pretty relaxed. No major deaths yet, I would imagine. And they're just looking up at possibly their first dinosaur that they're seeing on this island. Now I want to go to this image, which I think chronologically is the earliest of the images that we see with this article. Because I think this is on the boat, the military boat that we've seen some behind the scenes footage of and that we know gets attacked. And there seems to be some sort of stare down here between Henry Loomis, who seems very irked about something, and Zora Bennett, who seems a little bit more reluctant to engage. I don't know, she seems very thoughtful. Obviously, we don't know what's going on here, but this case that they have with them, I'm assuming, is going to house the vials of DNA that they need to be collecting. So this case is going to be coming along with them on their journey on the island. But I think what we're seeing here is already an example of what Edwards mentioned, that they're fighting for who is the alpha of the group. I think they're butting heads here and not agreeing on a course of action. I want to make a little prediction here, although I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I think this scene takes place right after they've received the mayday of the family that has been, you know, stranded out at sea, or possibly shortly after they've gone to rescue that family. And rather than aborting their mission to go to the island and get the DNA, you know, this very dangerous mission, rather than aborting it, Duncan Kincaid insists that they continue. Because he is the Ahab, right? He is completely obsessed with achieving this goal. So either Duncan Kincaid is suggesting that they ignore the mayday, or he's suggesting that they take this family on this dangerous mission with them on the island. And I think that's what's causing the conflict here in this image. I think Henry Loomis is gonna be like, that's crazy. We either can't ignore that mayday, or we can't take this family on this mission with us. You have to say something, you have to speak up to him, and Zora might be reluctant to push back against the orders of Duncan Kincaid, who is, you know, who is her leader. And yeah, we see the case appear in the other two images, so this case is going to be really important, and it seems like Zora is going to be guarding this with her life, as she is constantly the one seen with the case. Other than that, from this image, there's not much to glean. We see one of the vehicles in the background that they've brought to the island with them. She just looks very determined to get that case to wherever it needs to go. The last image of the article, so the last one that we'll be talking about in this video, is this one right here with 3 characters trudging through the mangrove swamps. As soon as mangrove swamps were mentioned, people perked up at the possibility of Spinosaurus. Looking at it now, at least from this singular shot, it doesn't so much feel like a Spinosaurus environment to me, but something smaller. It feels very claustrophobic, so I would guess that the threat is either going to be something small, or maybe nothing at all. Maybe it's just going to be building tension as they move throughout this environment. Quick aside on the topic of Spinosaurus though, I do still personally believe that it has a really big chance at being included in Jurassic World Rebirth, even more so now that toy leaks are popping up that show that there is going to be Spinosaurus figures releasing in a series of toys that comes out along with the movie. Now, I don't consider toys confirmation of anything, because just because we get a toy for something doesn't mean it's going to be in the movie. I just want to emphasize that. But it is just another hint that sort of confirms my own bias that there is a very good chance that we're going to see Spino. There's really not much to glean from this. My gut reaction to this is that it feels like an anaconda type scene, so maybe Titanoboa could be slithering through these mangroves, Maybe what they're seeing up ahead is the ruins. Maybe this is when they're discovering the ruins on the island. It's definitely fun to think about all these things, to speculate, so I invite you to speculate in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and until next time, fingers crossed for that trailer soon!